Pedro Gonzalez is a senior writer with American Greatness. He joins us tonight. Pedro, thanks so much for coming on. Look, I don't want to be unfair to Frank Luntz, who is not an evil person, and I don't want to suggest that, and I don't think that he's the cause of the Republican Party's problems. I do think, however, he's a symptom, clearly a symptom of them. What does the party's reliance on Frank Luntz, who's a liberal, tell you about their priorities, the leadership of the party?
Right. Well, in the 90s, we faced a crime wave and had a consensus about getting tough on crime. That worked. It kept people safe. Today, as homicide rates soar to historic highs, we have a consensus from Republicans like Tim Scott with Joe Biden about getting soft on crime, in part because guys like Luntz are advising policy. Democrats and their allies are going to continue getting everything that they want until the right learns to fight its own party and demands fighters for it. And I'll give you an overview of what Republicans are up to across the country. In Texas, Republicans, although they have the upper hand over Democrats there, have sandbagged a transgender sports bill. The Texas Republican legislature is also dragging its feet on passing a bill that would prohibit the chemical castration of minors. And Republicans, in North Dakota, following in the footsteps of Republicans Asa Hutchinson and Kristi Noem, the Republican governor there, Doug Burgum, has vetoed a transgender sports bill. The Republican-led Senate there then upheld his veto. Recently, Josh Hawley was the only Republican to vote no against lunatic Mazie Hirono's hyper-politicized hate crime bill, which, of course, Kansas Republican Senator Jerry Moran was instrumental in putting together. Moran recently got endorsed by Trump, by the way. Republicans also took the idiotic position of condemning the left and Maxine Waters' intimidation of the Chauvin jury, and then celebrating the outcome of that trial and promising more soft on crime policies, which is the same exact thing the Democratic Party wants. And I don't think that it was an accident that on Wednesday night, when Tim Scott responded to Joe Biden, he had one short, insubstantial throwaway line about immigration, because congressional Republicans right now are talking with the Democratic Party about putting together an amnesty deal.
It's also stunning to me that at a time when corporate America, not all corporations, but the biggest ones for sure, have aligned as one against Republican voters, that Republican leaders are still doing their bidding and hiring Frank Luntz, who works for them, to tell them what to say. When are they going to realize who their enemies are?
They're going to realize that when they start to feel afraid of their voters. And I think this is not going to change, because you and I can burn the house down every night on TV, but it's not going to change until Republicans feel afraid, feel accountable, in other words, to their own voters. And I think that Republican voters need to stop viewing the party as an ally and start viewing it as an instrument, something to be whipped into shape and not relied upon, because there is no plan but what we make.
Wow, that's deep and true. Just to restate, and I'll end with this, Republican voters need to understand the party not as an ally, but as an instrument of their will, right? It's a democracy, and realize the party won't change until they make it change. Is that a fair?
That's right. Absolutely. The Republican Party is an instrument to be willed, not something to rely on because they're going to stab you in the back. And there's this line from Reagan that someone who's on your side 80% of the time is a friend and an ally, not a 20% traitor. Well, when that 20% constitutes the most important existential issues, and on that 20% they stab you in the back every time, that's not really a friend. That is, in fact, a traitor.
That's right. That's someone who's betraying you and your deepest interests. I agree with that completely. Pedro Gonzalez, thank you for that. Great to see you.